Greetings to you and welcome to this episode of Grace Podcast. I'm Timothy Muse. I'll be your host as we spend this time together today. It's a joy to be with you. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for making this podcast a part of your day, and I want to thank you for making investment in you a part of your life. It's such an honor to be here beside you as you come into this space, as you begin to or advance in your understanding and growth of what it means to level up, to step up, to show up. That's what we've been talking about. We're talking about showing up. What does it mean to show up? Well, you're showing up for you. Even if you're just listening, even if you're just beginning to ask the questions, you're showing up for you. So good for you. Good for you for being here. Good for you for showing up. Good for you for making the commitment. Good for you for being on this journey. This journey is so powerful. So many people don't realize the power of this journey of growth and expansion. So you're here. So good for you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for showing up. If this podcast is helpful, please share it out there. I post on Instagram, LinkedIn, X, and Facebook. If you follow me or the life coaching on any one of those feeds, then you're going to see these episodes. So post them out there. Tag me in it. I'd love to see. Share them. Put them out there. Give them to anybody that you can. Email them. DM them. Whatever. The more people see this, the more people hear this, the more people will be able to invest in it. So please put it out there. Get it out there. If you're on one of the listening platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music, then follow us. Give us a rating and review. Every positive rating and review tells the platform people are listening. And you'll get a notification when a new episode is posted, which I try to post 3 episodes a week. And if you want to reach out to me directly, GraceLifeCoaching.com. I'd love to hear from you. GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. Reach out to me. It'd be awesome to hear from you. It truly would be. So we have been in this series about showing up for yourself and the importance of showing up for yourself, the importance of showing up for you. Last episode, we talked about breaking that cycle of starting and stopping and how consistency isn't about perfection. It's about continuing. Well, I want to build on that today. I want to go a little bit deeper into that because there's something underneath consistency, something deeper, and that's trust. Not trust in other people, not trust in circumstances, trust in yourself. And if we're being honest, that's where a lot of people struggle. Maybe that's where you struggle. Not because you lack ability, but because you've stopped believing in your own follow-through. You stop believing in your own follow-through. How many times have you started and stopped and started and stopped? And like I said the last time, that erodes that trust. You build that habit of stopping. How often have you stopped believing in your own follow-through? Yeah, I'm going to do that, but that's not going to happen. So we want to look at that today, and we want to start trying to rebuild that trust in you. So let's start with something simple. Let's start with a simple truth. Confidence is not built by success. Confidence is not built by success. It's built by self-trust. Most people think that confidence comes after they achieve something, after the promotion, after the weight loss, after the breakthrough. But that's backwards. Confidence is what allows you to stay consistent long enough to get there. And confidence comes from one place, doing what you said you would do, even in small ways. Because every time you follow through, you send a message to yourself, I can rely on me. I can rely on me. Every time you don't, you send the opposite message. See, consistency and confidence is built through showing up for yourself. When you don't show up for yourself, when you're not building that consistency, you're not saying, I can rely on me, then your brain is just going to be like, oh, that sounds like a great thing to do, but you're not going to follow through with it. How many times has that happened? It's like, wow, that sounds like a great idea, but you're not going to follow through with it. You're not going to follow through with this. This isn't going to happen. So just get over yourself and try to, whatever. All right. You're not going to follow through. Well, you want to. And so that's where that self-trust has to come in, because every time you don't follow through, then you're sending a message that says, I'm not reliable. You want to be reliable. You want to be able to trust in yourself. Other people trust you because you show up for them. This is a very trustworthy person because they always show up when I need them. That's great. But can you trust in you? Do you show up for you? That's the big thing. That's the big question. And that's the question that I think really needs to be addressed and handled. And that's where that trust comes in, showing up for you. Now, look, self-trust doesn't disappear overnight. I mean, we all come to trust ourselves. It's just a part of our identity. I mean, we are who we are and we trust ourselves. So we don't lose self-trust overnight. It erodes slowly and quietly. And that's the thing. When we lose trust in relationships with others, that can be blasted overnight. But self-trust, it doesn't go away overnight. It erodes quietly. We really don't even see that we are lacking trust in ourselves. And then all of a sudden, it just shows up that our trust in ourselves is gone, through small, repeated, quiet moments. Saying you'll start tomorrow and not starting. Making commitments and then breaking them. Setting goals and then abandoning them. These are small ways, quiet ways that our self-trust is eroded. And over time, this creates a gap between what you say and what you do. And that gap becomes your identity. You start to believe, I'm not a disciplined person. I'm not consistent. I just can't stick with things. So when we believe that, then once we believe that, then we start to live into that belief, into that identity. And that's where we start to fall down. That's when we stop trusting ourselves. When we start telling ourselves the narrative of I'm not disciplined, or I'm not consistent, or I just can't stick with things. Yes, you can. There's a lot of things you stick with. So you want to rebuild that trust. You want to rebuild that trust in you. And here's the truth. You're not lacking discipline. You're just practicing inconsistently. Okay? And anything practiced repeatedly becomes automatic. So to rebuild the trust in yourself, you want to learn to practice repeatedly things that become automatic, to do away with those statements that say, I'm not disciplined and I'm not consistent and I just can't stick with things. You want to undo that. And undoing that doesn't come from a magic moment. It comes from showing up and rebuilding that trust in you. So maybe you can see where your self-trust has eroded over time. Maybe those statements are something that comes pretty clearly into your mental cognition. Maybe those are statements that comes pretty clearly into your identity. I'm just not disciplined. I'm just not consistent. I just can't stick with things. Okay. Maybe that's what you're thinking, and maybe those words are resonating with you. And if they are, it's okay. It's really important that we can acknowledge that. We want honesty here. We don't grow out of Pollyanna. We need to get real. First, the G in Grace Life Coaching is getting real. Part of getting real is acknowledging where we are, not being critical, not being judgmental, just acknowledge it. Okay? So then we can start to rebuild. How do we rebuild that self-trust? Really, it's not just about acknowledging it or this is where I'm at, but how do we rebuild it? How do we move forward? You don't start with big goals, okay? You don't start with big goals. You start with small ones. Start with small goals, because self-trust isn't built through intensity. It's not built through intensity. Self-trust is built through evidence, through consistency. So you want to build that trust back in yourself. And the easiest way to create evidence that you can trust yourself is to keep small promises. Small promises. Small things you say you're going to do, and you do it, okay? You show up for yourself. I say I'm going to do this, and I do it. You show up for yourself, all right? It doesn't have to be big. Doesn't have to be life-changing, all right? It'll lead to life-changing, and I think that's really the big thing. We want to think that life-changing has to happen overnight. Well, we didn't get here overnight, so we're not going to get out of here overnight. And if it happens overnight, our systems can't handle it. We want life change over time, okay? So over time, that's going to be built, but it has to be built in slow, programmatic, consistent movement. It doesn't happen overnight. You want to build that evidence, and you want to keep those small promises over and over, which will build that trust back in you, okay? You want to find simple things. I'll drink a glass of water when I wake up. That's a small promise. That's something that I do. It's part of my ritual. Before I have a cup of coffee, I drink a full glass of water. Now, it's not really something that I consciously did. It was just something I needed to do. I just started by hydrating myself with a glass of water before I start my day. Okay, well, it's really important. It's really good for you because you spend 8 hours or 7 hours in bed. Your body's dehydrated. You need that hydration. Water's really good for you. So maybe that's a small discipline that you can do, something you can do every day. Before you start anything else, drink a glass of water. Because then what happens is you can say, I promise to drink a glass of water every day, and you do it, and your brain's like, oh, look, they're doing something that they said they're going to do. There is that building of trust. I'll spend 5 minutes organizing my day. Okay, 5 minutes, organizing my day, figuring out who's doing what, who's going where, what work is, whatever organization you need. 5 minutes. Again, it's not necessarily just about organizing the day, which can make the day go a whole lot better, but it's also building that trust. I say I'm going to do it, and I did it. 5 minutes organizing my day. I'm going to take a short walk. I'm going to sit for 3 minutes and breathe. Okay, whatever it is, something small. But the point is, not only is it going to better your life, but it will also increase your evidence that you can trust yourself, that you can be disciplined. These seem insignificant, of course, 5 minutes or a glass of water, but they're not insignificant. They're very important because every time you follow through, you start to reinforce a new identity. I do what I say. I have trust in myself. That is your new identity. That's the identity you want to build. That identity will then lead to consistency, and that consistency will lead to growth, and that growth will lead to success. See where it starts? It starts with that identity. You want to have an identity shift here to really begin to trust yourself if you are going to show up and follow through and be the best version of yourself. So let's get practical here. Let's get some practicality in this. So important so that we can really hone down and do it. Let's make this actionable. All right. So step 1, make one daily promise. 1, not 5, not 10, 1. Something simple, something realistic, something you can do even on a bad day. Because the goal isn't to impress yourself. The goal is to rebuild trust. So even on a bad day, pick something that you can do that's repeatable, achievable, and simple. Something realistic, like drinking a glass of water when you first get out of bed in the morning, or making your bed. I think you used that example in the last session, making your bed. Something simple. Make one daily promise to yourself and follow through. Okay, one daily promise and follow through. It can be simple, realistic, something you can do even on a bad day, so that you can start to rebuild that trust in yourself. So that your brain can start to say, look, this person can follow through with what they're going to say. So make one daily promise, and follow through with it. Continue to follow through with it. Show that you can be reliable. Stop overcommitting. It's the next step. Stop overcommitting. This is where most people sabotage themselves. They say, I'll work out every day. I'll wake up at 5 a.m. I'll completely change my routine. All of these big goals, which in time will happen. That's the game changer here. If we want to work out every day, it doesn't start by working out every day. It starts by building up to working out every day. I want to completely change my routine. That will happen over time. You can't do it overnight because it's not sustainable. That's not sustainable. And then when they can't sustain it, they break the promise. When they can't sustain the big change, the promise gets broken. And once the promise gets broken, then it just reinforces that lack of trust in the self. So instead, ask, what can I commit to and actually follow through on? That's your standard. What can I commit to and actually follow through on? That's your standard. I can't work out every day. Working out every day is not sustainable for me right now, but I can work out twice a week. That's what I'll commit to. That is my standard, working out twice a week. And if I don't work out twice a week, then I have to reevaluate. But that's my standard. If I get the chance to work out 3 times a week, awesome. But my standard is working out 2 days a week. If I can't make my bed when I first get out of bed in the morning, my standard is I will make my bed before I leave the house for work or whatever. Okay. That's your standard. When we overcommit, then it's not sustainable and we break the promise and we go right back to that mindset that we can't trust ourselves. So ask the question, what can I commit to and actually follow through on? That is your standard. And in your standard, that's something that you can go back to and say, look, I promised to do it and I did it. All right. So track kept versus broken promises. All right. This is about awareness. At the end of each day, ask, did I keep my promise today? Yes or no? What was my promise today? Did I keep my promise? Did I wake up and drink a glass of water first thing in the morning? Did I make my bed? Keep track of your kept and broken promises. Keep track of it. This is about bringing awareness. Now, here's the important part. Don't emotionalize it. Don't cast judgment or criticism. Look at how terrible I am and I promised to make the bed and I didn't make the bed. No, I just didn't make the bed today. That's it. Just honestly, just keep an honest track of whether you kept or broke your promises, because you can't build trust without accountability. You can't rebuild that trust in yourself without accountability, without saying, I said I was going to do this and I didn't do it. Okay, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to rebuild. That's what this is about. It's about awareness and accountability. Did I do what I said I was going to do? Yes or no? And with that, repair quickly when you break trust. You'll mess up. Hey, welcome to being alive. Welcome to this world. Welcome to this busy, chaotic, beautiful life that we have. You're going to mess up. That's part of the process. But here's the difference. Before, you stayed stuck. Yeah, I said I was going to do that, and I didn't. I did it for a few days, and then it fell through, and I just haven't gone back to it. No, go back to it. Go back to it as quickly as possible. Don't stay stuck. Repair quickly. When you break a promise to yourself, repair it quickly. Go back to it quickly. Repair quickly. If you miss a day, acknowledge it. Don't overanalyze it. Don't overthink it. Don't over-criticize yourself. Yep, it happened, but show up the next day. Don't stay stuck. This is how we rebuild trust in ourselves. If you think about a relationship, you say in a relationship, hey, I'm going to text you tomorrow, and you don't. Well, then, if you don't ever text back, then the relationship is gone. But if you text back and I say, hey, I'm sorry I didn't text you yesterday. I got busy, but I just wanted to reach out to you. Okay, that's how you rebuild. You rebuild quickly. If you forget to do something for your spouse or for your kids, you don't wait 3 weeks and go, oh yeah, I forgot to do that 3 weeks. No, you show up quickly. You rebuild quickly. So repair quickly when you break trust with yourself. Show up, acknowledge it. Don't overanalyze it. Show up the next day, because self-trust isn't about perfection. It's about recovery, recovering the trust in yourself, which is what we're talking about, right? We're talking about recovering trust in ourselves. And so show up when you break it, because you're going to break it. So show up when you do. Okay. Now, something powerful happens when you start doing this. You begin to feel different, not because your life is completely changed. There is a shift, but because you're showing up differently. You're showing up for yourself. You start to trust your own decisions. You start to trust your own discipline, your own ability to follow through. And that's what starts to build. That is the snowball that starts to build that momentum. And that's how change happens, and when this starts to happen, when you start to trust your own decisions and you start to trust your own discipline and you start to trust your own ability to follow through, that changes how you approach everything, because now you're not relying on motivation. You're relying on yourself. You're relying on your ability to show up, to trust yourself to show up when you say you're going to. Okay? So here's your challenge. One promise to yourself today. Keep it simple. Keep it realistic. And most importantly, keep it. Because that one action is where self-trust begins. And that's what we're trying to build here, right? Remember, this is a long term here. We're looking to build the best life, not the most immediate, impressive life right now, the best life. So one thing, keep it simple, keep it realistic, and most importantly, keep it. Because that one action is where self-trust begins. Find that one thing you can do and do it every day. Show up for yourself every day. Begin to trust yourself every day, and that trust will grow. You don't need to prove anything to the world, but you need to prove something to yourself. That you can show up, that you can follow through, that you can be trusted. Start small. Stay consistent, and let that build something stronger over time. That's the goal. That's the work. That's what I got for you for today, my friends. I hope it's helpful. If it is, please share it out there. Put it out there in your social media feeds. I post on the listening platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music. If you want to reach out to me directly, gracelifecoaching.com is the website. I truly would love to hear from you, because at Grace Life Coaching, we want you to be the best you.